Real Golf Radio's Brian Taylor joins us now. BT, good morning.
Good morning, guys. U.S. Open week. Are we excited or what?
Oh, I mean, I am on cloud nine.
There we go. Bring it.
Yeah, I already done brought it. I've brought it all morning, all week, and I'll continue to do so.
Okay, let's rock.
Are you already in Oakmont? Are you going to Oakmont? Are you staying home for the week? What's the plan?
We are en route, and we will be there in just a few hours and there through the week. So we'll look forward to being on site. We were there about a month ago for Media Day and had a chance to play the golf course and interview the USGA guys and get a feel for it. And we're excited to get back out and cover it this week.
Well, they make it sound like it's just the toughest thing ever. What's your interpretation?
I would agree. I don't mean this sounds terrible, but I feel like it's tough for the sake of being tough. I didn't love the experience. It wasn't like, man, this is so fun, I want to do this again. It was like, wow, that was amazing, but that was brutal. And I mean, if you miss, you're in this. At the time, the rough was 5.5 inches. They just cut it yesterday down to 4 inches, and they're going to let it grow. So they talked about how they want to keep it uniform, so they have to grow it half inch at a time and then mow it, and they're all hand mowing. It's amazing, this army of hand mowers. And anyways, they'd had a ton of rain when we played, and they've continued to have a ton of rain. So the golf course is a little softer than what they want. But if you miss the fairway, you're either disappearing in this deep, impossible rough, you're hitting into these bunkers with big, massive lips that you really can't advance it too far, or you're in a ditch. I mean, there's not too many U.S. Major championship venues where we talk about ditches. And the designer of this, Phones, back in the day, he just put ditches places where guys might miss it. And I had one out of the ditch, and I will say this. The shot out of the ditch was easier than the shot out of the primary rough because it was more wispy and thin, not quite as thick and lush as what the regular rough is. But nevertheless, you're on a side hill, leaning down, trying to hit a shot. It's going to be tough. Premium on driving accuracy, premium on hitting greens in regulation, and it's just going to be a total test. USGA says they want every club in your bag to get dirty at a U.S. Open, including the one between your ears. So it'll be a mental grind and a tough test for these guys.
So this course is over 100 years old, and it was designed and built by a guy who designed and built one course ever in his life, and it turns out to be one of the classic courses in America, now hosting its 11th U.S. Open. And so I read that the toughest thing about this is the fact that it was designed back in the era when you just had a team of horses out there. They didn't move that. It's sloping, the ground slopes. They didn't move that much dirt, and so the fairways, they bend, but they also slope so that even balls that land in the fairway, the question is, can they hold? So this rain sounds like it's critical because if it were drier, everything would just be running into the rough, even if you didn't hit it in the rough.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And that's the big story right now is balls are stopping in the fairway. And you're right. This thing was designed by a guy and his son. He misdiagnosed that he was going to die quickly. And he sold his steel business to Carnegie and decided to build this. He wanted to build the hardest golf course in the world. And he and his son went out and did that. And they would sit and watch their members play. And if somebody hit a shot and it went somewhere and there wasn't something, they'd go build it in the middle of the night. They talked about the legend is that they'd be out there in the middle of the night digging up a new bunker, and then members would show up the next day and there was a bunker where there hadn't been a bunker the day previous. So it's pretty interesting. The fact that they kind of got it right. And then it's gone through a lot of iterations. Consider this. They finally get a U.S. Open. I don't say finally. They get this U.S. Open there. And I believe it was Herbert Warren Wind, who I think was also credited for coining Amen Corner at Augusta. He gets there and he just called it a brute. It's just a big brute. Well, apparently they have feelings as well as being steel-hearted out there and rough and blue-collared in Pittsburgh. And so they started having these member plant-a-tree parties. And they just started putting trees all over the golf course because this thing was wide open. Well, fast forward, decades, and all of a sudden they come and they look at it and they go, this golf course isn't exactly the way that Phones initially designed it. There really weren't all these trees. Let's do a restoration. Let's start taking trees out. So they start taking trees out. And then they bring Gil Hanse in, and he finishes the restoration up, I think, 2 years ago. And it's supposedly back to what it was when Phones originally did this. And the trees are all gone. You can sit on the porch of the clubhouse and look out and see 17 of the 18 flags. It's pretty remarkable. Not very many pieces of property that you can say something like that. So it is more wide open. Some people don't love that. Some people do. when you have trees, you're able to frame your tee shots, so you can like, hey, I'm going to play it off that left edge of those trees and cut it back in the fairway. Without some of those reference points, sometimes it's harder for guys to pick lines and be comfortable with them. On the other hand, you also find yourself getting way more wayward, and you can get into some deeper rough and some ditches and things like that you might have been knocked down by trees in the past. So it's a really interesting kind of golf course architecture study to see what they've done here. And you're right, one-hit wonder, this guy.
Number 8, a 289-yard par 3. Is that the longest par 3 on the tour?
Yeah, it will play over 300 yards at some point in time during the championship as well. So guys are hitting drivers, 3-woods. It is downhill. Is that a consolation? It's downhill. Yeah. It's a downhill 300-yard par 3, so that's okay, right? It's hard. I mean, there's going to be Billy Casper famously laid up at Winged Foot back in 1959 in the U.S. Open on the third hole, which was a short par 3. Well, it was a longer par 3, but short compared to this. And he just thought it was too penal to get up there and miss into the bunkers, because you go back and forth over the green, bunker to bunker. And he laid it up short and pitched it up and made par all 4 days and won by a shot. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of strategy. I don't think anyone's laying up intentionally, but it wouldn't be surprising me if there's a lot of guys. I wish if Fred Funk was still out there. I'd love to talk to him. He'd be like, I can't even get it to the green. So,
Oh, wow. Fred Funk.
He was a crack up, man. The guy's so funny.
We always wonder what a bunch of amateurs would do, set up, championship course, set up for the championship. So all the media members, how did it go out there?
So Bob played pretty good. Bob shot, I think, 76, 77, something like that. I shot 81, and we were playing 3 tees forward, 3. So it was significant. Let's just put it this way. A better stretch is one of their best members out there is a +1 handicap, routinely shoots between 75 and 78. And I think they were saying on Golf Channel that with this rough up the way it is, he couldn't break 85. And he's a +1 handicap. Local member, plays there all the time. So if that gives you any indication as to how the difficult test of this thing is, the guy that knows the course the back of his hand, really good ball striker, good player, can't break 85. This should be interesting.
Tell us what you know about Preston Summerhays, who will be in the field.
Yeah, super excited about Preston. Just graduated from Arizona State. He's in that top echelon of PGA Tour U, which should give him a good shot to make it out on the PGA Tour. And he qualified. He was the medalist. I think he shot 70-63, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere along those lines to win his sectional qualifier and to get into this. So, yeah, I mean, pretty cool stuff. And his uncle, Danny, finished top 10 there back in 2016, the last time they hosted the U.S. Open there at Oakmont. I remember we chatted with him, and he was right there, going into the weekend. And I think he had a tough, if I remember, maybe a bit of a tough Saturday or Sunday, one of the days. But still, top 10, great finish by Danny. And so, yeah, Preston's going to give it a go. He's a really good player. His dad, Boyd, was Tony Finau's coach for a long, long time, and he's coached him since he was, could pick up a club. And he's got a very deliberate, unique swing, I think, in some ways, but he absolutely hammers it. He's a long hitter. He's really good. He's just a good player. He's turned into a really, really world-class player. It wouldn't surprise me if we see him as a regular out there on tour, but Francis Ouimet was the last player to win the U.S. Open in their first attempt, and I can't remember if Preston's played a U.S. Open in the past. I'm trying to remember. He may have, but he certainly has played some amateurs, but I can't remember if he's played an Open. But it'll be a tough test for him, but it'll be cool to see him out there.
All right, now do the whole Summerhays family tree. Go.
Let's see. We've got Bruce, who won, 3, 4, 5 times on the Champions Tour? Yeah, I don't know. You got me.
Well, you were just quoting Uncle and Dad there. I just thought maybe, hey, this guy's got all the Summerhays golfers down cold.
No, just those two.
Well, we do know that Phil is going to get the career slam, so who's going to finish second?
So that was obviously a huge story when he became the oldest major champion at 51 at the Ocean Course at Kiowa on the PGA Championship. That was probably one of those Samsonite 1 in a million comments from Dumb and Dumber. This one's even greater.
He's competed well last week.
6 runner-up finishes. Like,
Torture.
You could probably put about all the money that you want on him getting another runner-up would be remarkable. But no, look, this is probably Phil's last one. I think his end of his exemption runs out. It's 5 years now since the winning that PGA Championship. So he's winners in the other majors. He'll be able to keep playing those, but this is probably his last U.S. Open.
What a better story. And then have him win it in his last one. Sayonara. Grand Slam.
One of our favorite little drops that we use on the show regularly is Phil talking about the rough at Oakmont. I think it was back in 2016, and he was at a practice round, and he said, it's dangerous. It really is. And we just cut that, and we play that all the time. Anyway, so I don't know. It's even more dangerous. Phil's got to be careful. It's dangerous out there.
Is it going to be dangerous for Scotty Scheffler? Scheffler or the field?
Yeah, you know what? But DJ, that's it, right? I don't even remember. It was Tiger, like Tiger 2005. Is that the last time we even had these conversations? Tiger or the field, and we used to laugh, and we would laugh, but then we'd be like, "Gosh, I don't know. I think I might take Tiger." And yet I would say the same thing. It's laughable to say any golfer over the field, and yet Scotty checks all the boxes this week. He's leads the tour in strokes gained off the tee into the greens. He's top 10 putter. I mean, he's scrambling. His pitching is off the charts. We know he just is disciplined and committed to his game, and his mental game is good. He's got the best caddy in the world, and they just. Here's the other thing is you say, well, look, he's won 3 of his last 4 starts. He's kind of spent his powder a little bit. Maybe he doesn't have anything left. The thing that's so impressive, a lot like Tiger Woods, is he just seemed a bit unfazed by his success. It wasn't like he was out there, like this was the most amazing day of my life. This is great. He's like, yeah, this is what we do. And he always enjoys the win. And he's like, we're going to go celebrate this with friends. But then I'm just back to being my normal thing. I'm going to go back to work. And so I think that's really tough to do. If I won a PGA Championship, I mean, look at Rory. He completes a career Grand Slam, and he's like, I've accomplished everything. I'm out. Thanks, everybody. And next thing you know, he's trying to find a driver that'll work. And he went from being the story of the year to second story of the year behind Scotty Scheffler. So it's just so easy to have that window close, and Scotty seems to have it wide open still. And the thing to remember is same thing at the PGA Championship. Even though he's a multiple major winner, he only had the green jacket. Well, now he's got the Wanamaker, and he doesn't have a U.S. Open yet, so why not? I don't think he's satisfied, and I think he's just going to go out there. And I don't know anyone that's not picking Scotty this week. And yet you got to always look for spoilers because it doesn't always happen. Everybody thought Arnold Palmer would win in 1953, and Jack
I did too.
Ended up yeah, right? Remember that? Remember we were talking about that?
Yeah.
Remember? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Anyway.
I am just so happy for Scotty and Meredith and Bennett. I mean, they're just a cute family.
Oh, here we go. Apparently, look, Pat's already done with it. It's like the next greatest golf story, and he's already done with it. I don't want to see Meredith. I don't want any
Meredith
more
and
baby
Bennett.
talk. Yeah, you do.
Last time he was focused on golfers' kids, I think it was Phil.
Probably, but I thought he was squarely focused on Phil's wife. If we're honest, I mean, there was this Amy thing going on. Yeah,
no, I just I was a friend of the family for a time, and it's okay. I mean,
what did you send him for Bennett's baby shower?
That illegal driver.
Oh. Oh my gosh.
That was quick. You got to admit, that was quick. He's quick on the draw. He's ready for you.
Not bad. Not bad.
Ready for you.
Hey, you guys going to do your draft tomorrow?
Yes.
You want a couple spoilers?
Yeah.
Sepp Straka. Number 1 greens and reg, and I think he's number 11 in fairways hit. And he's won a couple of times. Yeah. Look, the last 4 winners at Oakmont. Larry Nelson first in greens and reg. Ernie Els first in greens and reg. Cabrera was tied for third, and the runners and the guys that runner up, Tiger and was it Phil, were tied, were first and second. So Cabrera was right there, and then DJ was first. So if you're looking for something to hang your hat on, go for that greens and reg. And I see Sepp Straka there, and he's also there in fairways. But you're not going to hit greens if you don't hit fairways. But I like Straka's maybe, and Patrick Cantlay. I'm not a Cantlay fan, but third in greens and reg on tour, and he has made the cut in every one of his U.S. Opens, and he's probably one of those kind of grinders that that, you never know. So anyway, there's a couple. Russell Henley's a little bit of an outlier too. Bob McIntyre, now we're kind of reaching, but I like Shane Lowry, Colin Morikawa, Xander Schauffele, the usuals. But outliers, Straka, Cantlay, and Henley.
All right, those are my 3 picks. I'm done.
Yeah.
he's on the BT plan.
I'm saying spoilers. I wouldn't go with my first or second pick, but if you had to grab a third, you never know.
Well, that's what I like to do, man. Anybody can pick Scheffler, and
Bob's going to.
I mean, this is so freaking boring.
Dude, your boy Rom, though, should play well this week.
Yeah, okay. I'll put him on
Don't
there.
you still have him? Your Arizona State connection?
That's your Arizona State.
That's our territorial selection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Rom will do well.
Okay.
Brian, we appreciate it as always.
We'll talk to you in a couple days.
All right, thanks, Brian. BT, Brian Taylor. He and Bob Casper, Real Golf Radio, Saturday mornings here on The Zone. And Bob will join us tomorrow and we'll do the draft. DJ PK, it's 97.5 The Zone.